yesterday. And the nature of material opulences is that it causes the destruction of intelligence. Krishna says in Gita, Udirnasha pranashati. If your intelligence is destroyed, you will perish. So in sadhana stage of bhakti, our ability to discern is required to navigate the material world skillfully. If you do bhakti nicely, also Krishna says he will give the Buddha yoga, by which you can come to him. So it looks like this material wealth presents a profound obstacle to the functioning of a healthy intelligence. Therefore, Mahaprabhu prays, and Prabhupada mentions this in one of his purports. I forgot to mention it yesterday. Mahaprabhu prays, Nandanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaye. Mama Jamani Jamanishware Bhavata Bhaktarai Tukite. So Mahaprabhu is praying, Nandanam, no desire for the wealth, no desire for position and followers, no desire for the beauty. He's praying like this because it seems it presents an obstacle to the healthy sadhana. So Indra has condemned his wealth for this very reason. He's done aparad to his guru. So now he's come to a solution. His solution is, I will surrender to my guru, seek forgiveness, ask for the apology. As for the forgiveness, I will do the apology, but we'll see that Brihaspati will have nothing of it. So Indra, not only Indra, all the devatas will have to suffer the consequences of his transgression. So that is also an important point. When aparad is done to a great soul, then everyone in that area can be destroyed from that aparad. It can happen. In Gaur Lila, this happens one time when the Nanda Prabhu, he goes to the home of one of the Islamic magistrates. And I forget the details of the story. But the Muslim magistrate refused to receive him. He commits some aparad to Nityananda Prabhu by having a cow slaughtered in his veranda. So Nityananda left. He may give some curse to him. He left. And then and a few days later, that magistrate, everyone in that whole village got slaughtered. It was some heavy thing like that. You do aparad, and to one great personality, the whole area. DDS also was just sharing another story with me. This is a little bit more interesting because it's more contemporary. So one Puri Maharaj was there. He had visited the States, and this is in September of 2011. So he was invited to, I think, Jersey Temple to do some program because one Vaishnav there very much appreciated this Puri Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Gaudiya Math, very exalted learning. Bhakti Bhai, I don't remember because there's two Puri Maharajas. I don't forget which one. Yeah, I think it was Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. Anyway, I have to double check. So he was invited to speak at the Jersey Temple because one of the leader there at the time has some relation. So the GBC apparently got hold of that. And when Maharaj came to the program, and they put one ISKCON devotee on the Vyasa before he could speak, so that he wasn't able to speak. They made some decision like that. So, Puri Maharaj being very humble. And he didn't say anything. He left the program. So apparently DDS was traveling with Pradumna Prabhu. You know Pradumna Prabhu, Prabhupada's Pradumna Prabhu. Yeah, the Pandit. So Pradumna Prabhu was telling Darudar Maharaj that you should get out of the city because, gather grains and food stuff and get out of the city. It's going to be very dangerous. So Maharaj was like, well, why? Because of this offense that was done to Puri Maharaj, everyone in the city will have to suffer. And then a few days later, September 11th happened. A few days later after that, Praduna told Maharaj, a few days later, September 11th, in the terrorist attack happened. And so it's just interesting, you can call it coincidence, but it was interesting. So this idea comes up From the offense of one, many can suffer. Also, Parikshit Maharaj committed offense to Shonak Rishi in his own humility, right? So Parikshit Maharaj immediately prayed to the Lord, may all the reaction come to me. So my kingdom, the people in my kingdom will not have to suffer the consequences of my transgression. So there's some ideas like this. So Indra has done this offense to the Guru, and he wants to seek forgiveness, but Brihaspati will have nothing of it, as we'll just now read. And as a result, all the devatas have to suffer the consequence. So yeah, being a leader is something else. Okay, so let's see where we pick up here. We left off at verse number 16. So I'm going to, so the narration picks up. We're just going to do some reading because everything is, the commentary is very straightforward, so nothing too much there. So while Indra, the king of the demigods, thought in this way and repented in his own assembly, Brihaspati, the most powerful spiritual master, understood his mind. Thus he became invisible to Indra and left home, for Brihaspati was spiritually more powerful than King Indra. So I mentioned this yesterday, that the silence of Vaishnava is more dangerous than his anger. At least with anger, you have some connection with grace. But with silence, there is no overt connection with it, and more dangerous. So somehow Brihaspati was not pacified, so he left. Next verse. Although Indra searched vigorously with the assistance of the other demigods, he could not find Brihaspati. Then Indra thought, alas, my spiritual master has become dissatisfied with me, and now I have no means of achieving good fortune. Although Indra was surrounded by demigods, he could not find peace of mind. Hearing of the pitiable condition of King Indra, the demons, following the instructions of their guru, Shukracharya, equipped themselves with weapons and declared war against the demigods. So this is the tacticians. They knew he made transgression against his guru, so he's in a vulnerable, disempowered position. So what did they do? They followed their guru. They worshiped and followed their guru, and they got the power from them. And with that power, they went and attacked the devatas. And they were successful. Next verse. The demigods' heads, thighs, and the arms, and the other parts of their bodies were injured by the sharp arrows of the demons. The demigods, headed by Indra, saw no other course than to immediately approach Lord Brahma with bowed heads for shelter and proper instruction. When the most powerful Lord Brahma saw the demigods coming toward him, their bodies gravely injured by the arrows of the demons, he pacified them by his great cause's mercy and spoke as follows. Lord Brahma said, O best of the demigods, unfortunately, because of madness resulting from your material opulence, you failed to receive Brihaspati properly when he came to your assembly, right? Because he is aware of the supreme Brahman and fully in control of his senses, he is the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, it is very astonishing that you have acted impudently toward him. Because of your misbehavior toward Brihaspati, you have been defeated by the demons. My dear demigods, since the demons were weak, having been defeated by you several times, how else could you, who were so advanced in opulence, be defeated by them? O Indra, your enemies, the demons, were extremely weak because of their disrespect towards Shukracharya. But since they have now worshipped Shukracharya with great devotion, they have again become powerful. By their devotion to Shukracharya, they have increased their strength so much that they are even able to easily seize my abode from me. Okay, they're in Satyaloka. So because of their firm determination to follow the instructions of Shukracharya, his disciples, the demons, are now unconcerned about the demigods. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith in the mercy of Brahmanas, cows, and Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and who always worship these three are always strong in their position. So anyway, the essence of these verses, there's one more verse in the passage, but I'm pausing here for a second. The essence of the verse is very simple. So yasya prasada bhagava prasado, yasya aprasada nagati kutopi. Prabhupada's quoting this also. by the mercy of Guru, by the pleasure of Guru, the satisfaction of Guru, then Krishna is pleased. And if the spiritual master is dissatisfied, then there's no way to please Krishna, and you are finished. There's another shloka, I don't know this verse by heart, I haven't committed to it. But it says, if you do aparad to Krishna, like seva aparad, you do to the deity or you do to Krishna, then you can be saved by the mercy of Guru. But if you offend the Guru, then nothing can save you. Nothing can save you, except, of course, the mercy of that Vaishnava. Just like if you fall down on the ground, then you have to take shelter of the same ground to get up. It's not that you can take shelter of something else to get up. You have to take shelter of the ground to get up. So in the same way, when you make offense to an exalted person, you have to take shelter of that same person in order to be redeemed. Otherwise, not possible. Just like we know the Ras Muni pastime. He committed offense to Ambarish Maharaj. He tried to take shelter of Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Narayana himself. But he could not be redeemed. Even by Lord Narayana, he could not be redeemed. He could only be redeemed by taking shelter of Ambarish Maharaj. And Ambarish Maharaj's mercy can redeem him. So the analogy given by Jiva Goswami is a nice one. If you fall on the ground, you have to take shelter of the same ground to get up. So of course, Indra tried to do that, but if that Vaishnava is not pacified, then you are in very dangerous position. So this is also discussed in Madhurya Kadambini. If you recall, we studied that book together. In Madhurya Kadambini, he was talking about the 4 types of anarthas. Anarthas coming from sin, piety, bhakti, and anarthas coming from aparad. So out of the anarthas coming from aparad, that means the 10 aparads. But out of that, he mostly spends time with Vaishnava aparad. Because out of all of them, that is considered the most dangerous one. Like I forget the word used, like the supreme aparad. Out of the 10, Vaishnava Ninda is most dangerous. So he spends a lot of time with that. So he makes the same point that I've just made just now. If you make offense, you have to go to that Vaishnava. He said if that Vaishnava isn't satisfied, then you should try for a few days to please him so that he would forgive you. If still he is not pacified, then you're in very dangerous position. He said you should just leave everything and weep and take shelter of Harinam. And if you repent in this way, then after some time, you may be relieved of the offense. I remember reading that thinking, that's not very practical. I can't just like leave everything, based on offense like that. He's not being pacified. But otherwise, you're in a very dangerous position because you can only be redeemed by the mercy of that Vaishnava, ordinarily speaking. So, of course, here more specifically the Guru. So, not just any devotee, but the Guru, spiritual master. If the spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. If the spiritual master is displeased, then there's no way to please Krishna. We are in a very dangerous position. So, it seems here from the pleasure of the Guru that one gets all sorts of empowerment to do extraordinary things. So previously, the asuras, they had, I guess, disrespected their guru, or Prabhupada had not followed their instructions of the guru. So they had become very weak. So the devatas were able to easily defeat them. But now that the devatas have disrespected their guru, they've become weak. And the asuras, they have worshipped their guru and pleased him. So they've become very strong. That they could even take up the Lord Brahma's abode. So in this particular verse that we have now, the devatas are feeling like a little bit no hope. So when you're dealing with an aggressive, when the king is dealing with an aggressive citizen, then there are 4 ways they try to pacify them, right? We've talked about this many times, actually. The king may try to first pacify the I don't want to use the word aggressor, but like the citizen. He may try to, it's called sama. You try to pacify them with good reason. And if that doesn't work, then you may try dan, giving some charity. Okay, give them what they want. So if that doesn't work, then you may try beta. Beta means giving some threat so that you back off a little bit. And finally, if that doesn't work, then you do danda. You give the stick and you punish them. So in this way, in previous times, how the kings would govern their citizens. So the citizen is complaining, making some complaint against the king. So he would try these different methods to pacify. So the devatas, they're thinking in relationship to the asuras, how they can, some of their demons will not be pacified by logic. Neither you can threaten them because they have more power than you. Neither you can punish them because they also have more power than you. Neither you can give anything in charity. So here, Brahma is saying, because of their firm determination, the demons are now unconcerned about the demigods. In fact, so there's nothing they can do to challenge the asuras right now because of their compromised position. And so they're thinking, we're finished then. What can be done? And so Lord Brahma, in order to calm their hearts, says the second sentence. So this is what the commentators are saying. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith and the mercy of Brahmanas, cows, and the Supreme Lord Krishna, and who always worship these three, are always strong in their position. So Brahma is telling them that don't worry, there's some solution here. And it involves worshiping the Brahmanas, worshiping the Supreme Lord. And he says, mentions cows also. So for those who do that, they can be redeemed through this process. So there's the last verse here of Brahma speaking to the devas. O demigods, I instruct you to approach Vishwarupa, the son of Twashta, and accept him as your guru. Oops. Why did he do that? No. Sorry, accidentally. Okay. He is pure and very powerful Brahmana undergoing austerity and penances. Please, by your worship, he will fulfill your desires, provided that you can tolerate his being inclined to side with the demons. So he's giving the solution here that you accept another priestly guru, Vishwarupa, the son of Twashta. And Twashta is the son of one of Daksha's daughters that we heard about in the previous discussion. So he's very powerful. He's a Brahmana. He's very powerful in austerities and penances. He can fulfill your desire. So their desire is very simple, to regain sufficient power to win back Swargaloka from the demons. So a very simple desire. The devatas are after all materialistic persons. So you go and worship him. He will give you the necessary mantras that require for fulfilling your purposes. And so, of course, the devatas are very happy to oblige Brahma's instructions, and they go off to meet Vishwarupa. So we might look at that passage also, but we want to just talk a little bit about, pleasing Sri Gurudev. So in one of the seminal verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, for our theology, I often mention it. Bayam Dutuya Beniveshata Shadishara Pratashri Paryoshmriti. You know this verse. Being turned away from God, you lose your own soul, you embrace the body, you're absorbed in bodily life. Dutuya Beniveshata. Your life is characterized by fear, sorrow, and bewilderment. So Tamaya Yato, this is what it means to be in Maya. So we're in Maya. Because we're in Maya, we're not happy. Understand? Even when we're devotees of Krishna, we're not happy. You could talk to many devotees and ask them. They're also not happy. Why the devotees are not happy? Because we're also in Maya. Because for the same reasons that anyone else is in Maya, we also. So if we're intelligent, Buddha Abhijatam, then we'll do exclusive devotion to Krishna, Bhaktya Eka Isha. Guru Deva Tatma. So this word Guru Deva Tatma is very important. So Guru Deva Tatma means the Guru is part of our bhajan life. We accept the Guru as the Deva. So Deva means the worshipable one. And we accept the Guru as the Atma. So the Atma means the very life of our life. Why he's the life of our life? Because we were dreaming in the illusion of Maya. So when you're dreaming, you're not living your real life. You're living some dream thing. Your real life isn't happening. Suppose you were stuck in some nightmare also. So what is a nightmare? Also, I'm very rich and happy. That is also a nightmare for anything material. So then if someone comes and wakes you up, then they awaken you to your real life, right? You understand? Otherwise, you were sleeping in some dream world. Then they wake you up, and then now you can start living your actual life. So the Guru is called as the Atma. He is the self of the disciple, because he awakened, or he We were dreaming and we were sleeping in the dream of Maya and pursuing our Mayic existence. And then Guru came and he's waking us up to our real life and potential and divinity. So therefore he's called as the Guru Deva, like the life of the soul. He's the life of the soul. Because before being awakened to that reality, you're not having life, just pursuing the matter. That is a dream, that is an illusion. There is no life there. So he awake you to your real life. So he's called as the Guru Devata. So this Bhagavatam verse, which speaks about our Maya and how to come out of it, has positioned the Guru as an essential element of our release from Maya and our devotion to God. So only by the Guru's pleasure can we be released from our dream of material existence. Okay. So what does it mean to please the Guru? So what we want to please the Guru. So what does it mean to please the Guru? What is your suggestions? You can put it in the chat box. What does it mean to please the Guru? It's a question that is important. If the pleasure of Guru is so important, then what does it mean to please the Guru? So we'll give answers. Okay, some answers come in chat box. Let's see. Follow his instructions. Mukunda Vesham Gopi. Mukunda Russell. Pursue love of God. Hari Sham. Become a lover of Krishna. Sham Shakti. Follow his instructions. Akhilesh, not offend devotees. Tamir, it means he is happy with us. Tamir, you need a little bit further elaborate why he is happy with us. These are all good answers, of course. So what does it mean to follow his instructions? So that is a fundamental, you can say, ground of pleasing Guru. Guru is giving some instructions, so you follow the instructions. So what does it mean to follow his instructions? Follow what he teaches. Okay, what is that? Follow Shastra. Okay, what is that? What is the Siddhanta Shastra? You have to keep asking questions, no? Otherwise, you just think you have understood it. Because especially if the teacher is a little bit intelligent and articulate, then they'll make you feel that you have understood the subject matter, right? Because they explain it very nicely. So you feel, yeah, that was very easy enough to understand. Then if you were asked to repeat the subject matter, then you realize that you don't understand it so much. They said, now the teacher says, now you explain to me. Then you become confused. So what does it mean? You have to keep inquiring. Sham Gopi said, our tattva of bhakti, Krishna is God, and we are jiva meant to serve him. So we're trying to unpack what does it mean to please Krishna, please the Guru, right? So this verse is there, etavad eva jignasam tattva jignasunatma, right? I like to quote this verse a lot. There's the fourth verse of the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. That you have to inquire up to this point. 4 topics are discussed in the Chatur Shloki, right? Jnana, Vijnana, Sarahasyam, and Taranga. So Sarahasyam means Prema Bhakti. So Taranga means Sadhana Bhakti, an anga of that secret, an anga of Prema is Sadhana Bhakti, because by Sadhana Bhakti, Sadhya Bhakti comes, it's called an anga. So the verse for that is Etavareva Jignasam, Tattva Jignasunatmana. You should certainly inquire up to the point of the experience of the Rahasya. So if you don't have the Rahasya, if you're not experiencing the Rahasya, that means your investigation work is not complete. You understand? So you know the Tattva. Here we've all heard so many things. We know the Tattva. But until you've experienced Prema, you have some questions to ask. You understand? Your inquiry life is not yet over. What is the other verse from Bhagavatam? Karmasin indriyapite labhoji veta yavata. Jivasya tatu jiknasa nato yasheha karmabi. After you get your body, mind stuff in order, so you don't have to worry about it, then the balance time should be used for investigation into the truth. And nothing else should be the purpose of your activity, right? Nato yasheha karmabi. So if you're not experiencing prema yet, I'm not experiencing prema. That means there's some questions I have to ask. So I'm asking one question. What does it mean to please Guru? So we're all giving some answers. We know the answers. Follow his instructions, pursue love of God, become Krishna's lover. We're giving answers. But what does that mean? Further inquiry is required. What is the further inquiry? So I want to know, what does it mean to please the Guru? So I like Krishna. There's different levels of Guru satisfaction. Like Krishna has different levels of satisfaction. He's also pleased. Krishna is pleased by sadhana bhakti. Krishna is also pleased by bhav bhakti. Krishna is also pleased by prem bhakti. But they're not equally pleasing to Krishna, right? They're all pleasing to Krishna. Krishna is also pleased by varnashram dharma because he has set up that system for helping organize human society. So he's also pleased by varnashram dharma. So anyone who's doing any of this, they are pleasing Krishna. But the pleasure of Krishna is not equal in all cases. Being more pleased by prema bhakti than by sadhana bhakti, for example. Although both are pleasing to him. So you want to please Krishna to the utmost degree, then you want prema, for example, if you're really interested in Krishna's pleasure, right? So similarly with Guru, there are different degrees of his pleasure. So what does it mean to please the Guru and get his pleasure? So I want to suggest, Shamsaki says here, deliberate, follow, and preach. I think all these answers are actually correct answers. But Prabhupada, I want to suggest is one thing, simple thing, that in Prabhupada's introduction to Bhagavad Gita, he notes that the work that he's trying to do is practically impossible. And he says in the end of his introduction, is it introduction or the preface? It might be the preface. He says if even one person becomes a pure devotee of Krishna by this endeavor, then I would have considered my whole mission successful. If even one person can become pure devotee of Krishna. So then the question, what does it mean to be pure devotee of Krishna? Because we want Prabhupada's mission to be successful, which means that we have to become pure devotee of Krishna. So what does that mean then? What is your understanding? What does it mean to become pure devotee of Krishna? What do you say in the chat box? Do you have no answer? Do you have an answer? I wish you knew. Prema. I heard one definition of pure devotee. One definition of pure devotee. Okay.
As much as he can follow instructions of the spiritual master very carefully, like Prabhupada said that he didn't deviate from his master an inch.
As much as he can follow the instruction of his spiritual master, not deviating even an inch, then that is a definition of pure devotee. That is also a good one. Lover of Krishna. Anyabilashi tashranyam. Krishna anushilana. So many answers are coming. Which one is the answer? I'm also curious.
Does it not take a pure devotee to know a pure devotee?
Does it not take a pure devotee to know a pure devotee? That's okay, but Shastra is also describing what is pure devotee. So you're hearing Shastra a lot. So what is your answer? Maharaj, what would you say?
Well, I would say at least.
Maharaj is speaking, he said, at least.
At least. When you're talking about a pure devotee, you're saying what is the definition?
Yeah, because Prabhupada says if even one pure devotee is made by my mission,
I would say yes, look at it 2 ways. Either come to the consciousness of prema,
come in the consciousness of prema,
or the practice of pure devotion.
Yeah.
So the practice of pure devotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also a nice answer. Yeah.
So I think probably speaking for some practice on the level of
So,
That is the consciousness,
right.
which is described as,
What is the consciousness of prema? That's what Hari Sham is asking.
and that's in the third verse,
That's in the third verse.
where you see everything as God and you feel everything.
Everything, you see everything as God and you feel everything
That's
as
the
God.
third verse of chapter.
The
Like
third, the
everywhere-
verse that shows
everywhere
you.
you're seeing God.
Right.
And seeing God doesn't mean just seeing God, it means feeling God.
Feeling God.
Feeling your love for God
Yeah.
everywhere.
Nice. Yeah, so
Yours, Jaya.
I like all these answers. Pure devotee means anyabhilashita shunyam. That is actually the fundamental definition of a pure devotee. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmandi adnavritam. Anukuyena Krishna nushilana bhaktir uttama. And so Rupa Goswami says this bhaktir uttama has three forms: sadhana, bhava, and prema. These are the three forms of uttam bhakti. So sadhana bhakti also pure devotee, bhava bhakti also pure devotee, prema bhakti also pure devotee. They're all uttam bhaktis. And so they're all pleasing to Krishna and therefore all pleasing to Guru. So if you're doing pure sadhana bhakti, then that is also pure devotee, that is also pleasing to Guru. And then what to speak of bhava and prema or sadhya bhakti, that is certainly the goal of the sadhana also, that is also pleasing to Guru and Krishna. I like those answers. I think those are the correct answers also.
It's an answer you want.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah, I know. There's an answer I'm interested in also.
You're interested. What was the one you were looking
Well, this is how I would, this is the one that this is all these answers are correct, and this is the one I want to throw on the table. That Krishna and his pure the pure devotees of Krishna, they're canvassing for Krishna's sense gratification. Because what is the definition of prema? Definition of prema, according to Kaviraj Goswami, is one who gives happiness to the senses of Krishna. And the definition of lust is one who's interested in his own happiness, his own sense gratification. So the pure devotees of Krishna, of Braja, they appear in this world canvassing for Krishna's sense gratification. That is the meaning of love. They're not canvassing for the sense gratification of Narayana or Ramchandra. He is also, they're included in Krishna because all forms of the Godhead exist in Krishna, and therefore all forms of love of Godhead are there in Krishna. But they're specifically canvassing for his sense gratification. I want to read a little, just one purport is there. Because when I say this canvassing for the sense gratification of Krishna, I'm thinking of a particular verse and purport from the Ambarish Maharaj Leela. So there's this verse where I mentioned this verse yesterday incidentally, that Krishna says that without my pure devotees, I don't even desire to enjoy my opulences. My opulences mean, my Aishwarya means nothing to me without my pure devotees, right? So this is 9, Canto chapter 4, verse 64, I believe. Yeah. Let me just read it. I wanted to read this one. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and supreme opulences. Okay, so I'm going to read some of Prabhupada's purport here. It's very nice. The supreme Godhead is self-sufficient, but to enjoy his transcendental bliss, he requires the cooperation of his devotees. In Vrindavan, for example, although Lord Krishna is full in himself, he wants the cooperation of his devotees, like the cowherd boys and the gopis, to increase his transcendental bliss. Such pure devotees who can increase the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord are certainly most dear to him. Not only does the Supreme Godhead enjoy the company of his devotees, but because he is unlimited, he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly. Thus, he descends to the material world to induce the non-devotees and rebellious living entities to return home back to Godhead. He requests them to surrender to him because unlimited as he is, he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly. The Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to increase the number of pure devotees of the Supreme Lord more and more. It is certain that a devotee who helps in this endeavor to satisfy the Supreme Lord becomes indirectly a controller of the Supreme Lord. And a little bit more says. So my suggestion is that to please Krishna, to please Guru, and ultimately through that to please Krishna, we have to realize the goals of Krishna consciousness. So what is the goal of Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada he derived the term Krishna consciousness from the phrase Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, which means Mati means a consciousness that is infused with the rasa of Krishna Bhakti. So you know this word rasa means, how to explain it easily? The word rasa means that there's a prominent emotion that is mixed with other elements that brings it to a state of exaltedness. For example, if you have an eggplant sabji, an eggplant sabji consists of eggplant as the base vegetable, but it's mixed with other ingredients to make it a sabji. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that relishable. If it was just eggplant, ew. I mean, eggplant is not, I should have chosen another one. Eggplant is not that good anyway. But if it was just eggplant, not very nice. But it's eggplant mixed with all these other elements and ingredients, then it becomes an eggplant sabji. And then it's very relishable. You can offer it to Krishna and then offer it to the devotees, right? So rasa means that there's a foundational emotion. That's the eggplant. The foundational emotion is in one of the four rasas, dasya, sakya, vatsalya, madhurya. And then when it's mixed with other elements, it comes to the state of rasa. And so a consciousness that is infused with the rasa of Krishna bhakti is where Prabhupada derived the term Krishna conscious. So to be Krishna conscious means to have a consciousness infused with the rasa of Krishna bhakti. So, and of course, Krishna bhakti rasa means Krishna of Vrindavan, the experience of the rasas of Vrindavan. So I said to please the Guru means to do the hard work that it's going to take to realize one of those rasas. We have to ask that particular question. I noticed with myself at least, and I think I noticed it with other devotees, that our approach to sadhana, our approach to spirituality is kind of like business, business, not business, formulaic. That is a better word. It is formulaic. Because we think that if I do X, Y, Z, then I'll get this particular result, right? So when defining sadhana, Rupa Goswami specifically wanted to warn against this sort of thinking. So, and Mahaprabhu, when expressing it, uses this language, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabuna. So he says Krishna Prema, the goal, is eternally perfect. Sadhya Kabunoi, but it is not a sadhya in the ordinary sense. So in the ordinary sense, the word sadhya means the result of a particular formula that you've followed. So that means if you do this, then you get this.
16 plus 4.
The 16 plus 4. So that's an example of a formulaic approach. If I do this, then this result will come. So Rupa Goswami and Mahaprabhu in the same voice is saying, no, sadhana bhakti does not lead to sadhya like that. When we say sadhya in Krishna consciousness, we don't mean sadhya that's the natural result of sadhana. You can do all the sadhana you want and still the sadhya will not come. And the example given is of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, Narada Muni in his previous life, he did some formula nicely that he learned from the sages. He had darshan of the Lord, then the Lord disappeared. Then he did the same exact formulas in the same exact way, then the Lord didn't come. And he was very distressed. Why he not come? Because the Lord is not the sadhya in a formulaic sense, that if you do X, Y, Z, then this result will come. Everything in Krishna consciousness is very personal. So that's the annoying part about it. The annoying part about it is that Krishna is personal. So he's responding to the actual self-searching, I want to use the word like desperation, but that sounds kind of negative, but it's kind of like a desperation. It's one thing to follow like the formulas of Krishna consciousness, 16 plus 4 equals BTG. And it's one thing to really be after the particular goal, like in a sense of desperation. So I want to suggest that pleasing the Guru doesn't just mean following his instructions, because anyone can follow the instructions in a formulaic way and not be happy. Because happiness, of course, comes when you experience the sadhya of Krishna consciousness. So you can follow it as formula and not get the result. As Narada Muni did, he followed the formula, he didn't get the result. So we can also follow the instruction of the Guru and not get the result. But I would say Guru is most pleased when he sees someone really desperate for the goal, that they're doing whatever they can to figure out how they're going to get that particular goal. So that thing is a lot harder to even experience in Krishna consciousness. I don't think I experience like desperation for the goal. I have a little bit actually, but I don't have a lot of desperation for it. Like a yearning. Yearning is a better word. Like a yearning for the goal. So you're performing the formulas of Krishna consciousness with an inner yearning. And of course, the inner yearning only comes out when you really identify what you're yearning for. So I often speak to this point that devotees know that the goal of Krishna consciousness is Krishna prema, but that is not their goal of Krishna consciousness. They just know that that's the answer to the question, but it is not their goal in life. For their goal is something else, this, that, and the other thing. Naturally we're influenced by the Maya Shakti in many ways. So I would say pleasing Guru means that the yearning, following his instructions, informed by a yearning for a goal that you've identified for yourself as your goal in Krishna consciousness. And until then, okay, you have a cursory, you also please Guru by just following like a child, the formulas. But you really please Guru when he sees, or he can see, he may not even be present on the planet, but he can see through super soul, through intuition. If a person's really if his following is informed by a yearning for a goal that he's identified as his own. And especially for Krishna Bhakti, it is informed by a desire for one of the four rasas of Krishna's Vrindavan Dham. So, of course, this is a little bit more than required for the actual section here of the Bhagavatam. Here, the pleasing Guru is, because the Guru is also just like a priest. So it is not such a deep relationship here. But I just wanted to, because of preparation time I had this morning, I wanted to bring this up. I was curious to see how people thought about the pleasure of Guru, the pleasure of Krishna. So I think a lot of devotees, we suffer from a lack of a clear pulse, a North Star, they call it, Polaris. Polaris? Polaris is a star that guides you through the desert. So we're in the desert of material existence, and we have to identify what is our Polaris star. What is your goal in Krishna consciousness? Is it just to be purified? Like many devotees give this answer, be purified with something. So that is what I'm doing on the table. I think all these answers are correct. And this is also the answer I want to put on the table. We have to figure out how we're going to find our goal in Krishna consciousness. So I don't know how many of you here on this chat board have discovered your goal in Krishna consciousness. You've discovered your goal in Krishna consciousness? You discovered your goal in Krishna consciousness? No, they're also saying no. Okay. So we have to figure that out.
Are we supposed to discover our goal or find the route to the goal?
So our question is coming, are we supposed to discover our goal or find a route to our goal?
To the goal.
To the goal.
The ultimate goal, yours, as I understand, is prema.
If the ultimate goal is prema, okay.
Right. So if that isn't my goal, shouldn't it be my goal? And shouldn't I be yearning or searching for a route to that goal, or finding a way to yearn for that?
Yeah, so it means that you've accepted that Krishna prema is the goal.
I accept it because you tell me.
I accept, so that's what I'm saying. You accept it because I tell you, but you don't accept it because that is your particular yearning.
Right.
So that is the dilemma for you. That will be a dilemma for you, right? That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we will follow the formulas of Krishna consciousness without the goal, without the goal being our heart's goal. So that means that if it is not really your goal, then are you really pursuing it? Even by following the formulas of Krishna consciousness.
If I could, I'd bring it back to the question you raised the other night in the lecture around, how we can more easily identify with the movie sometimes than with the Krishna Leela. And I'm saying to myself, do I yearn to be a gopi do I yearn to be a cowherd boy? I'd probably sooner yearn to be Superman.
Right. So
how do I get to yearn to be one of the four?
So
this.
Sri Govinda is mentioning here, and we had this retreat here in Kali. So Maharaj gave class about the rasa theory, like the components of rasa. So it was very high topic. I'm pretty sure most of the people in the class didn't know what was going on. So I asked a question at the end of the class, just, out of my own personal curiosity, but also because I wanted to show that this subject matter is actually very interesting. So I asked Maharaj a question that, when we watch a movie, we very easily we empathize with a particular character in the movie. And then, and in that way, we have access to the emotions of the character vicariously. But without our empathizing with a particular character, you don't have access to that emotional world. It's just like looking at the screen and not feeling anything. So in order to feel the emotion of the character vicariously, you need to empathize with a particular character. Whereas with Krishna Lila, we don't empathize with any particular character, so we don't have access to that emotional landscape. So we were having a discussion in the last 2 days of the retreat about that. So Sri Govinda is saying it's easier for him to want to be a Superman than it is to want to be like a gopi or a gopal, or to be involved in that emotional landscape of Krishna Lila. I'd rather be, Green Lantern or Iron Man or Superman or whatever. Yeah. So
how do you get to that yearning?
So how do you get to that yearning? If I'm intoxicated in this way, how do I get to that yearning? I don't want to give any answer to that question.
Okay.
This is the point that I'm bringing up in my class, that such a question should be asked. And then you should pursue such a question. That's what's going to give life to your sadhana. Otherwise, if you're doing the sadhana without any inquisitive spirit, then your practice has no life. So this is the point that I'm trying to bring up in the discussion, that the life of the sadhana is informed by this sort of inquisitiveness. Otherwise, if there's no jivasa tatu jignasa, natoya sheha karma bihi. So this verse I already quoted. So Prabhupada says in the purport very nicely, he says that the devotee is so busy in the research work of the absolute truth that he gets no time for sense gratification. I remember when I read that, I was like, wait, like no time? And I remember when I read this purport some years ago when I was preaching at Northwestern University, there was this one kid, he wasn't a devotee, but he came to all the devotee programs. I think he was a little bit atheist, but he really liked me. And he would come to all the programs. And I remember one time asking him this question about how does he deal with his libido and on the college campus. It must be very hard. And he immediately said, I don't have time for that. I'm so busy in my research work and I'm on the verge of a breakthrough that I don't have time for sex life. And I was like, what? And he's like a non-devotee atheist, but then I immediately remember this purport from Prabhupada that the devotee is so busy in research. This is what I'm trying to bring up, that if you don't do sadhana informed by that inquisitive spirit, you have to ask these sorts of questions. You have to look for the answers yourself. I mean, it's one thing to be told an answer to a question. That is one thing. You simply ask a question and you get the answer. Okay, yeah, I got the answer. Now I'm about to go enjoy, Superman movie and a raper. Yeah, that is one thing. It is another thing when you're informed by your own questions for which you need the answer for. Like you really need to, not in a theoretical sense, because you heard it in the class and that was interesting. I didn't understand the technicality on that. So you get the answer to the technicalities around it, and then you go on with your life. But a question that you really need the answer for, then there's sadhana comes to life suddenly, because it's informed by a genuine question that you have and that you need the answer for. I sometimes feel like, I don't mean this conclusively, but I sometimes feel like when people first come to spiritual life, the reason they experience so much life from that is because they had questions that they really needed answers for. And then when they were asking the devotees, they were getting the answers that they were looking, they got so much life from that. But then after they join, they become stagnant in terms of their culture of inquiry. And then as a result, they feel less life because they have less questions that they really need the answers for. Now there's just more like understanding the technicalities, and then once you learn the technicalities, it's not too difficult. If you have a good teacher, learning the technicalities of Christian consciousness is not too difficult. It all starts to make sense. You put all the pieces together. Not very difficult. But if you don't have really questions that you really need the answer for, then you won't experience that much life inside of you. And following the instruction of the guru, you will have that to your credit. You can check it off. I follow the instruction of the guru. But if it's not informed by a real yearning, a real inquiry culture, then you will not be, it may not feel like enough. That's what I'm trying to say. So your question is a good question. And I want to leave for you to look up that question, look up the answer to that question. Because it's an interesting question to pursue. And so many teachers, of course, you're going to end up asking someone, but then you can like turn the topic, dialectic, Q&A, back and forth. That's what's going on in the Bhagavatam. It's a dialectic. It's not like you ask a question and then the adept, he gives answers. Like, okay. And there's like a dialectic is going on. It's like, wait a minute, but let's probe a little bit deeper, because I'm not convinced or I'm not clear or whatever it is. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to bring out here. Where is the culture of inquiry? I'm wondering. I'm doubting how devotees are following, because I'm hearing from so many devotees in New York, particularly. They keep telling me they have no taste. Almost all my friends are telling me that they're like, our God brother, I don't know if you saw his little write-up. I have to show it to you later. So he wrote like this: I'm not feeling this, that, and the other. And I was like, bro, I know how you live. Yeah, I was like, I know how you live. And I live very similarly, but you don't hear me complaining about my lack of taste. I know how I live, If I'm not really deep in that is to me, then I'm probably not going to be experiencing that much life from all that I'm doing. It's like having, Srila Maharaj would give this example, of having the capsule without the medicine inside. You just have the capsule. So you have the form of practice, but the potency of the capsule is the medicine inside. So the potency of the sadhana is the inquisitive spirit, the need to know the truth, not just the technicalities of the truth, but the need to really experience it. So I leave you with that question. That was a good question. I think it's a great question. It's a question I also have. And it's a question that I'm also trying to understand more and more. That's why I also asked it to Maharaj in retreat. And I think it's a question worth investigating more and more and more. And in the process, that'll give my sadhana life, chanting Hare Krishna, trying to get Krishna about Krishna. What is the truth? I don't fully have it yet. And you have to pray, please appear to me. Then all of a sudden, it's like very dynamic spiritual life is going on between you and God. Versus like, yeah, I got the formulas, and just walking, carrying on with your day. Very nice question. I'll leave you with it. Mukunda also has a question. Is it more pleasing to the guru to yearn for the highest goal for oneself, or to bring others to the point of yearning for the highest goal? Well, I would have a follow-up question. If you're not yearning for the highest goal, how are you going to bring others to yearn for the highest goal? You'll be an amazingly powerful person if you're not yearning for the highest goal, but you can bring others to that point. You have some sort of incredible Shakti. You're like completely oblivious to the truth, but just by moving around, others are becoming interested. So it seems to me, just as a matter of like logic, there would have to be some. Yeah, Dharudhar Maharaj is going to ask something on that. Is it more important to distribute or taste? Yeah, same answer. How you will distribute without tasting? Of course, when I was in the Harinam ashram in New York, I still go quite a bit, but there was one year I stayed in the Harinam ashram, and we were always fully exhausted because it was like 6 hours of Harinam every day. So we were out from like 12 o'clock to 8 p.m., come back, eat something, and then we would go to sleep, and we would have to get up like by 3 o'clock because Sadhana Bhakti started at 4, and there was a situation in the ashram, as you know, we had to get up super early. We were always exhausted, so we would go on Harinam Sankirtan, as soon as we would sit down, we would look completely exhausted and just like uninterested. So we're like sitting there like, Hare Krishna, Hare. And then so many times we would jump in the ashram. We'd say, hey guys, come and join us. Don't we look happy? They're like, nah, y'all, we're enjoying it. Y'all look dead. You're like, we're not gonna enjoy you. Y'all don't even look interested. So if you're not tasting how you will distribute. What are you distributing without tasting?
Okay, you had no time for sense gratification.
You had no time for sense gratification, but that was also problematic. At least I had that covered.
Here's the second question.
Now to memorize another
What's
question.
the relationship between distributing and tasting? You gave between tasting
Yeah.
and distributing.
So what is the relationship between distributing and tasting? I would say, this is how I usually answer this sort of question, that the nature of happiness is that it wants others to participate in it. The nature of bliss is like this. Even in the material world, when someone feels happy, they want others around them to also be happy. Otherwise, it just creates a rasa bas, like an imbalance in circumstances. So taste means a type of ananda, is a type of bliss. So the nature of bliss or happiness or taste is that you want others around you to also taste that reality. So that is Mahaprabhu Leela. Mahaprabhu Leela is the explosion of joy into the world. That's why it's described like a river, where the joy just overflows and then everyone gets inundated in the river of love, the river of joy, Premananda.
I think you're still going in the same direction,
Yeah.
but for distributed taste, what about, because I know one devotee that's very, very deep into Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
But the reason he accepts responsibility to preach is because he feels he needs the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to actually taste Krishna consciousness. And it's very, and there's some direct connection.
So Maharaj is saying that there's some direct connection between distribution and the tasting of the highest reality. So much so that he speaks of one devotee who's very absorbed in Raganuga Sadhan, and he's really into that, but he preaches also because he sees the necessity of preaching to really get Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And so there's some direct relationship between these two functions or actions of the devotee, the tasting part and the distribution part. Yeah, I mean, Krishna, the verse we say that Krishna comes to do his mission. One part of the mission is to taste, and the other part of the mission is to distribute. Right? Prema rasa niyasa karite aswadana, rag marg bhakti loke karite prachana. So but for me in my head, the logic is still the same because of tasting. The desire to distribute is like a natural corollary of that taste. So Krishna tastes prema rasa, and then he wants the world to taste that. So he preaches rag marg loke karite prachana. He preaches that to the world so that they can be invited into the experience. So in my head, that's the connection between the two. And that, of course, for sadhakas, we also have the concept that by distributing, even if we're not yet tasting, and then work of distribution, we get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, so we may be invited into the realm of taste. So that also makes sense to me. That other direction of the logic, that also makes sense to me. Okay, just final things here we'll just look at. My goal isn't quite inspiring. It's just do whatever I can to build momentum every life. Unfortunate enough, came to Krishna consciousness with unclear goals and still at the same level. Harisham, this conversation reminds me of the time Mother Kosharupa asked Mukunda, oh yeah, I remember this. When did you join Krishna consciousness? And Mukunda said, I was born in the movement. And so she asked the question again, and Mukunda realized that she was saying what she was saying. And I think he said, I haven't joined. Yeah, nice example. Shamsak, preaching is the best service to the Lord. This looks like a purport. Preaching is the best service to the Lord. The Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in the service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 1869. Quote, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. If one sincerely tries his best to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord and his supremacy, even if he is imperfectly educated, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is bhakti. As one performs this service for humanity without discrimination between friends and enemies, the Lord becomes satisfied and the mission of one's life is fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised everyone to become a guru, devotee, and preach Krishna consciousness. Yare Deka Taraka Krishna Upadesh. That is the easiest way to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such preaching. The preacher becomes satisfied, and those to whom he preaches are also satisfied. This is a process of bringing peace and tranquility to the entire world. And she says, this purport says, in giving also we receive. Also, purport you read says, increase devotees for Krishna's pleasure. So yeah, you share once from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I think that sadhana bhakta can instill this faith. Yeah, I'm making another point here that's a little bit more simple though. We can have all the closest support our position. Yeah, just by preaching, you'll be satisfied and others will be satisfied. And my question to you is, are you satisfied? That is my challenge. There's like people will ask Prabhupada many times, have you seen God? Many times the reporters ask this question to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada would immediately say yes. Every time, yes. One time the disciples tried to give some, logic to it. What he means is that everything is Krishna's energy or wherever. And Prabhupada said, no, just as I'm seeing you face to face, I'm seeing Krishna. So it's a challenge. We speak so many things. We know so many things as sadhakas. We can explain so many things. And then Prabhupada says that by doing that, you will be satisfied, everyone else will be satisfied. Then my challenge is, are you satisfied? That is my challenge to the devotees. I'm asking that to myself, and I'm asking it to my friends who are also claiming they're not happy in Krishna consciousness. So if the answer is no, I'm not really satisfied, then you have to ask why that is the case. And by pursuing that question, you'll bring life to your practice. That's what I'm saying. Otherwise, we're just saying the standard formulas. We all have all formulaic answers. We have the formula 16 plus 4 equals BTG and so on. But we are not actually experiencing. So I'm just saying, this is a challenge to yourself. And if you're not feeling satisfied, then you should pursue that question. And by pursuing that question, you get life in your practice. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to. How do you define satisfaction in Krishna consciousness? I'm sure you have the answer to that question. There's so many ways to answer. You know the formulas. You know what it means. And you know intuitively also if you're satisfied or not. No one has to tell you. This is Prabhupada gives the example. When you're eating, no one has to tell you you are full. You know by direct perception. So you know directly if you're satisfied or not. No one has to tell you that. So if you're not satisfied, then you know it. And you have to ask the question why. And by pursuing the answer to that question, you'll give life to your sadhana. Yeah. So anyway, we'll pause here for now. And I said my piece for the day. We'll carry on the pastime tomorrow. Hariam Tatsat. Thanks a lot. Srila Prabhupada Jaya. Go Nandi. Hari.